So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining and coming to How the Republic Note Changes the Startup Investing Game webinar. So I'm joined here today by Shrina Kurani, who's Chief of Staff at Republic, and Bryan Myint, who is the Managing Director of Republic. So for those that don't know KingsCrowd, we are basically the first independent rating and analytics platform for the online startup investing community. And so today we're here kind of discussing the Republic Note and what that means both for the equity crowdfunding community and also for you as investors. And so with that, Shrina and Bryan, I'd love to hear from you guys just a little bit about your background and what you do at Republic.
Yeah, totally. Shrina, you want to go first? Go ahead, Shrina.
Yeah, of course. So hi, everyone. My name is Shrina Kurani, and I'm the Chief of Staff at Republic. And just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a live and action shot, I'm actually at a funding portal offsite at the moment, so apologies for any background noise. And my background's actually a little bit unconventional. So I kind of came from the world of mechanical engineering and got really into energy efficiency, found my way into startups and venture capital, and ultimately decided that the thing that one of the barriers I'd always faced was raising capital for everything that I believed in. Met some of the team members at Republic and decided to come on board because I felt like what Republic was working on was one of the ways that we could really level the playing field.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Bryan, how about you?
Yeah. Hey, guys. Also, like Shrina, I have a kind of unconventional path to my way and life in blockchain. I started off as an electrical engineer for first few years of my life in California. And then from that, I made my way to the Bay Area, worked at a few startups that had nothing to do with crypto, blockchain, or engineering. And then I just found my way into, discovering Ether and Bitcoin a few years ago and just started investing with some friends. I started a crypto hedge fund called Torion Capital with some friends. And then just by getting deeper and deeper into the crypto space, I started meeting more people. And I eventually got introduced to Ken, who's our CEO at Republic. And they were like, oh, Republic's been doing equity crowdfunding and fundraising for a while. ICOs are basically another form of crowdfunding. We want to get into this space. Do you want to help? And I was like, yeah. And I kind of like the fact that Republic kind of had this mission-driven culture and wanting to, help provide access to people so they can also invest in crypto like I did. So that's kind of how I got here.
Nice. That's terrific. So I'll have you kick it off, Bryan. Can you tell us a bit about what the heck is a Republic Note so that people kind of understand what this actually is?
Yeah, totally. So at its core, the Republic Note is, you can kind of think of it right now as a digital asset that is only earned and used on Republic platform. So please keep in mind this is like the first phase of the Republic Note as we plan to evolve it in the future to have more and more features and to have different properties as the Republic as a company matures. So the Republic Note is something that users can actually get for free right now and will entitle the user to certain rights on our platform and certain kind of abilities to make their investing experience on Republic easier. The whole goal is that it will kind of reward the user for doing certain things on our platform, like, make your first investment, earn some notes, refer some friends, earn some notes, fill in your profile, interact with the founders of a company on our website, earn notes. And then later on, we plan to unlock certain properties about the note that actually will make it much more fruitful than just something that you could just earn on our platform.
Got it. And so, Shrina, for those that don't know, can you tell us about how users can actually earn those notes on the platform?
Yeah, definitely. So on the back end of our platform, basically, from everything from signing up on our platform, you can earn notes, referring friends to join the platform, you can earn notes, to visiting startup pages, or any sort of way of really contributing to our community. We're basically trying to build in to make sure that our community is being rewarded for actually building what Republic is as an ecosystem. And I think this is something that's actually quite important to note. As we've been thinking about the genesis of the note itself and why it's here, a lot of the reason is because when you make an investment in a company, it's often going to be months, if not years, multiple years, before you actually get something back from that investment,
Sure.
if you do get something back at all. And so we wanted a way to be able to reward people in making an investment on our platform, and wasn't just to what was actually going to come out of that investment, but for actually being an active part of our community. So
got it. And
the main way to earn notes is exclusively on our platform through basically being an active member. So whether you're commenting, whether you're visiting pages, whether you're making investments, signing up, referring friends, all of those actions are pegged on the back end and being recorded, and you'll be rewarded with earnings as you stake.
so can people actually buy notes, or it all has to be done by earning them through actions?
Yep, so notes currently can only be earned on Republic, and that's a part of the way we're giving away for free is because you actually can't buy them currently.
Got it. Very cool. So Bryan, what are some of the advantages of the notes that users get when they earn them?
Yeah, so this is a really good question because, you get them for free, you can only use them on Republic. What can you really do with them? One of the main things that we allow note holders to do is get special access to events and webinars that we host. So we have actually hosted a few like founder-friendly events and also kind of startup investing webinars in the past that have been pretty fun and successful. We've also hosted a few conferences in the past, and things like this are what note holders can get access to today. There are, of course, plans to kind of increase the value of the note and also provide note holders with extra benefits. But due to sort of like the regulatory nature of where we are in the crypto space and where we stand as an SEC-reported general license funding portal, we can't exactly talk about a lot of the cool things that we have in store in the future. So one thing that I can tell you is that we are gearing up for a Reg A Plus in the future, and with that, once we figure out those details, we can start talking about benefits that the note can provide to.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
Chris, I think
please.
There's quite a bit of background noise on your end. I don't know if it might be the cars rushing by.
Okay, I'll mute between questions if that helps.
Yeah,
that'd be great. And then, one more thing I wanted to add is so Republic is a platform where people can invest. People of any financial background can invest in early stage startups. Note holders will be able to get special access to these deals, and if there's a waiting list for an oversubscribed deal, there is a mechanism where we can provide note holders with an ability to get in on deals that are sold out or very close to being sold out.
Makes a lot of sense. So Shrina, to understand a little bit about the logistics of the note, are these notes transferable? Can people sell them and move them to different people? Or is it really whoever the individual is the holder of that note?
Yep, so currently as it stands on our platform, the notes are basically exclusive just to the Republic ecosystem. And so they're currently not transferable and you can't sell them. That's how it stands currently. But as Bryan mentioned, we do have future plans for the note. Just what those specific things are, we can't really go into much detail, of course, from like a regulatory perspective. But as it currently stands, the notes are basically just available on our platform through earning them completely for free. And then ideally in the future, we'll potentially have different other ways of accessing notes.
Cool. And for Bryan, in many ways, what this does is it kind of gamifies the startup investing experience. So what do you think are the advantages of creating this type of investing experience, both for investors and for founders as well?
Yeah, so the gamification actually, we really like this aspect because, we were like, how can we get the note into as many people, into the hands of as many people as possible and make it fun, right? We want to make it so that, people go onto our website, they see certain actions that they can do, and then they can get rewarded for it. So I have a background in blockchain and token due diligence. And whenever you analyze token economics, you want to have a strong case for why the token is created in the first place. And one of the first rules when you evaluate projects for token design is like, what are the incentives here? And how is the token incentivizing people to do things that you want them to do on the website? So for Republic, we want people to, go on our website. We want them to fill in their information. We want them to invest in projects. We want them to refer quality projects. We want them to engage with the, other investors, engage with the founders. We want the founders to engage with the users. So all these things that we want to happen, we've kind of figured out a way to gamify them and incentivize people to do these things so they could earn notes. And then, the more notes you have, the more benefits you can have in the future. So I think that from a gamification perspective, it actually incentivizes both investors and founders to interact with each other and interact on our website in ways that actually increase education and increase like the knowledge transfer, so that everybody is more well educated and understand what they're investing and who they're talking to and who their investors are. So that's kind of like what we're heading for with the design of the incentives for the note. Shrina, I know you were super involved in that design process. Is there anything you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can just add that we've done a lot of research on the back end to really make sure that all the different actions that people are taking on the platform are really beneficial to both the founders in terms of great feedback that they're getting, really being able to understand their products better, and actually potentially even be able to really kind of potentially impact the roadmap, right? So the discussions that you can have with founders on a one-on-one basis, you can basically now have on our platform, whether you're an investor or not. And I do think that there is an opportunity to be able to further build out the startup and innovation ecosystem by encouraging these types of conversations. And so it's not so much, I mean, of course, a big part of it is to make sure that people are engaged on our platform, but ultimately our platform is only going to be as successful as our founders and as our investors and as educated that they are. And really just making sure that everyone kind of understands what's happening and is helping build this ecosystem together, because we're not going to be able to do it on our own. And so a big part of the note is to keep people engaged, help them ask the right types of questions, and make sure that they feel like they have the knowledge to make the right decisions as well.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think any way that we can engage users more and investors and founders and have them kind of working and collaborating together, the better. So I could definitely appreciate that. Bryan, one thing that I'd love to hear from you, and it's honestly something I've heard from a lot of our investors, is, they're like, okay, so this note thing, how does it work? What is the need for blockchain technology to enable something like this? If you could explain a little bit of how this works and why blockchain technology enables a note, that way people kind of understand what this is all about, I think it'd be really helpful.
Yeah, totally. And this is a great question, I think, and hopefully it's very helpful for everybody on this webinar to hear. So as it stands right now, the note is kind of like this self-contained like point system in Republic. You can earn notes. You can't really spend them right now. You can't really trade them, but they're kind of in Republic. You earn them, and as it stands right now, you can actually just build this whole thing in a closed system. No crypto needed, right? But we do have larger plans in the future for this note, and I'm just going to say that blockchain technology enables things like micropayments. Meaning, like, if you want to give people fractions of a cent for doing certain things, that's something that's enabled by blockchain technology. Blockchain technology also allows for tokens that are tradable on exchanges. So typically for securities tokens, one of the major benefits is that you get a faster pathway to liquidity through a security token, because you can trade it on an exchange much faster than you can maybe potentially trade like an individual stock on an exchange. I know there's things like shares posts out there that allow pre-IPO stocks to be traded, but there's also a competing technology, which is a security token exchange that allows securities tokens to be traded in a much more liquid manner as well. So if you put two and two together, you kind of can maybe do some research into where we're trying to go with this. But blockchain technology does allow us to kind of take the note that we have right now and grow it into a much more advanced ecosystem. Without going into too much detail into what our plans are, the note can potentially represent many more things. Like security tokens can represent equity in companies. Security tokens can represent revenue sharing. Securities tokens can represent kind of partial ownership or voting rights. So these are all use cases that people use security tokens for. And, who knows, like that kind of like opens up the door for where we can take the note in the future. Currently, as it stands right now, many people are like, oh, why do you need crypto? Well, we don't really need crypto right now. But in the future, as crypto technology matures, security token exchanges mature, liquidity for crypto gets better, and adoption goes up, we want to be positioned right at that cusp for when this technology, I think right now all the infrastructure is being built, and in the next year or so, when it becomes a little bit more mature and usable for the masses, Republic wants to be positioned like right there to take off right when the technology also takes off.
Awesome. And Shrina, to hear from you, in order for that to take off, there are a lot of regulatory hurdles that need to kind of be overcome. Can you talk a little bit about the things in front of you that you need to kind of clear through on the regulatory side in order to get there?
Yeah, definitely. I can speak to this to the extent that we can. Of course, we want to I think Republic really prides itself in trying to be as compliant as possible. So you want to make sure that we're not misleading potential note holders or folks that are on our platform, in that currently the note has no economic value. But as Bryan mentioned before, we are intending on doing a Reg A+ offering. And so in that case, I think one of the most exciting parts of the note is that you actually don't have to be, and well, not about the note specifically, but I guess about Reg A+ in general, is that you don't have to be an accredited investor. And so as the note stands currently, anyone can hold it, right? It's exclusive to the Republic platform. It doesn't have any monetary value, and you can earn notes just by really just doing things on our platform that's kind of helping build out the ecosystem. And this can be done entirely for free. You don't have to be accredited. You don't have to be a millionaire. You basically have to be someone who's excited about building the startup ecosystem. And I think that's one of the really exciting parts about like how the note stands currently. As we move forward into the future, I think one of the exciting parts is that part of that kind of still stands if we are successful in doing the Reg A+, is that you don't have to be an accredited investor. You can really be like me and Bryan and yourself and just basically be people who are excited about building startups and innovation and what that future could look like. From a regulatory perspective, it can be quite complicated. And so, as I think most folks know, it does take a lot of capital, resources, and time with the Investment Company Act, and just making sure, what exactly all those rules and implications could be. We want to make the process as seamless as possible for our users and for our investors. And so we're really trying to make sure that we're operating within the rule of law, but in a way that is going to be as easy as possible for folks to onboard, for folks to become investors. And, we're really creating a new system here. And so while we can't offer a fund, we want to provide something that's appealing. And when we're ready to offer securities, we want to provide something that really does have true value and could be a true incentive for folks who are participating in the platform, making investments, and really just engaging with us. So I kind of apologize for having to be purposefully vague here, but we do want to, like I said, we really pride ourselves on being as compliant as possible. And so, yes, so that's kind of what I can say at the moment. But I'm happy to, of course, take questions, and as much as we can answer them, happy to go further.
Terrific. And Bryan, to ask you a more generalized question, ICO versus STO, what is the difference here? And I know that it's not necessarily an STO yet, but why is it compliant? Why is that not the wild, wild west of the ICO world?
Yep, that's a great question. And it's actually, the answer is actually very simple. An ICO and an STO are essentially very similar in terms of technology. An STO is basically an ICO that's done in accordance to securities laws. Meaning, in the 2016, 2015, 2017, ICOs, people just kind of like minted tokens and sold them to whoever. Maybe they had like an address on their website to collect ETH or Bitcoin or something like that. And those are kind of considered like sales of unregistered securities, because tokens can be argued that tokens are securities because of the Howey Act. So people started doing ICOs that are compliant with securities law, meaning they filed with the SEC, meaning they got a legal letter from their legal counsel saying that their token is a security or not a security, depending on who they speak to. And they, did KYC AML on every investor. They followed Reg A, they followed Reg D, they followed Reg CF. They followed different securities exemptions to do their sale in a compliant way. That's what made it an STO. So security token offering. So they're being more specific that their token is a security, and also just following standard US securities laws, which did not happen in the past. You and I, we can go create open up a restaurant and say we're gonna mint a token that we only take as payment. but maybe potentially we're going to expand the restaurant and this token will be worth more in the future, and we just sold this without, telling the SEC. That's an ICO. But if we, registered it, we did it under a securities exemption such as Reg D, Reg CF on Republic, then that can be a securities token offering.
That makes a lot of sense. And Shrina, one of my favorite things about this market is the fact that there's a lot more diversity and inclusion in who gets funded. And I know that you guys actually do a terrific job of that with getting female founders funded, minority founders funded. Just out of curiosity, would something like the note be able to provide you with access to maybe just investments in female and minority founders? Is something like that possible? And again, I know that that's not necessarily created today, but is something like that enabled by a product like the note?
Yeah, so I think we're incredibly excited about all the different opportunities that the note could possibly offer. Already on their public platform, we're trying to figure out different ways of kind of segmenting, depending on what you're excited in or about. We already have tags in place. You can click on a tag and invest in female founders or in immigrant founders or in veteran founders, as much as you can invest in a company that is, focused on sustainability or is focused on a lot of these different types of portfolio makeups. And so that's definitely something that's in progress at Republic, of how do we better take all of these companies. We've backed over 100 founders now, and there's such a wide variety of what they're working on, their backgrounds, and what people are excited to invest in. And so I think that's definitely something that we're really excited about, is how do we take our existing portfolio and figure out ways to kind of make sure people can find the types of investments that they want to make. And I think something like the note in particular really does kind of level the playing field in terms of the types of investments you want to make, as well as who can make those types of investments and who can really, benefit from them, whether it's just earning the note on our platform or otherwise. And so, I think that's definitely something that we're excited about, and we're actually currently already thinking about, is how do we further think about our portfolio and what types of companies investors are interested in, and better segment them so that to make it easier for people to find the types of companies that they'd like to invest in.
Terrific. So I'd love to open it up to the crowd. Please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A section that we have. One question that did come in is around this idea of the difference between the different levels that you can have when you earn more notes. So orange, purple, green, white. What does that mean? How do I get there?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to actually get there, before we did have, hopefully some of the folks here were able to sign up during our bounty periods where you were able to earn a multiplier on the different actions that you took. But I would say the number one way of earning more notes is actually just referring people. So that's the one that currently isn't capped, and this is going to be quite limited in terms of how long we're going to run this for. And so as much as you can refer friends to sign up, that's the easiest way. Currently it's 10 notes per referral that you're able to earn. And so that's currently the easiest way to earn notes, actually, is to continue to refer people and get them so you can continue to level up. And the different levels basically are going to signify the different types of perks that we're going to offer. And so we actually haven't released this publicly yet, but one of the things that we just offered note holders was we did a collaboration so that I believe the green level note holders that were local to New York City or have their city labeled as New York on their profiles, we were able to offer them tickets to an event that we co-hosted last night, completely free of charge. And so that's just like one example of the types of notes, of perks that we're going to be offering note holders. But as Bryan mentioned, it's everything from access to, basically access to us and to our ecosystem and to the different things that we have going on and the different types of events that we put on, but also, basically giving you priority if you're at a certain level in terms of notes that you've earned on our platform. Then for deals that are oversubscribed, there's priority lists that are basically just for certain note holders and things like that. So we basically want to reward people for being active on our platform and give them access to things that they otherwise might not really, either just might not be on their radar or they might not actually have access to otherwise.
Awesome. Bryan, another question that we got is around this idea of, one way you can earn notes is to, make investments. So maybe it's 5 investments, 10 investments, and you get a certain amount of notes for that. Is there a certain dollar amount that people have to be making on those, or can they make the minimum investment in 5 investments, 10 investments, et cetera?
Yeah, great question. There is no limit to how little and how much you can invest on Republic. So as long as you just make an investment, period, then you can get rewarded notes. There may be plans in the future to have a higher tier of note reward based on if you invest $1,000, $500, $100. But for now, it's just input your payment method, have that stored, and then also make an investment. Those are kind of like the current bounties, just to keep it pretty simple. But I'm sure like as we kind of work on the gamification a little bit more, we can probably have different tiers of note earning for different investment amounts. Like maybe your cumulative lifetime investment totals 1,000, you get 1,000 notes, you know, things like that.
Awesome. And Shrina, one thing that was mentioned earlier on this was the idea of KYC AML. So if you want, another way to earn a note is actually to pass KYC AML. What is that, and how does somebody pass it?
Yeah, so on Republic, we really try to make that as easy as possible. And so as you're going through the user sign-up flow and you basically complete your investor profile, then on the back end, we're basically, for those who don't know, KYC AML basically stands for Know Your Customer and Anti-Money Laundering. And so it's basically for a way for us to make sure that we know where the capital is coming from and there's no sort of fraudulent activity that's happening. And it's a way to safeguard both us, the investors, as well as the companies that are raising on our platform. So it's really just safer for everyone. And that is something that, of course, is just one barrier to actually making an investment, but it is not limited to just accredited investors. So that's, I think, one of the things that I really want to highlight is that this is open to everyone. But if you pass KYC on our platform, which is actually a pretty simple check of just inputting some information so we can verify that you are who you are effectively, then you're able to earn notes for that as well.
And for founders that raise on Republic, do they also get notes, or is this just for investors?
Yeah, so this is actually for everyone who's a part of our ecosystem. And so founders get notes as well. If you refer a founder, you can also earn notes that way. And so basically anything that is helping us grow our ecosystem, whether it means being an investor, being a founder, referring, commenting, sharing, inviting more folks to join us, all of those things we're trying to incentivize. And if you have any ideas, we're always happy to hear more. I think this is definitely not an exhaustive list of what we currently have. And so as we start recognizing other actions that we feel like can help us really build out our community, we will definitely be adding on further actions that you can take that you will get rewarded by with notes.
Terrific.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that actually, because what we want to give away these notes as much as possible. Like I don't know if I can emphasize this more, but we want to have as many people in the world having these because we believe in democratizing investing, we believe in open access, and there may be a time where we cannot give these away in the future. So we want to be able to have as many people earn them and take them while we can. And we're trying to design the incentives so that like literally anything you do that provides value to Republic and provides value for the investor experience, the founder experience, will earn notes. So, if anybody that's listening here wants to sign up, you just literally signing up gives you notes, filling in your name, your phone number, gives you notes, referring a friend gives you notes. So while we want to give these away for free to as many people as possible.
And if someone doesn't live in the US, can they still get notes and have access to this?
Yes, 100%.
Awesome. And one question that we had is, if in the future these notes could have economic interest in these companies, are you taking a fee today from these companies that's part equity? And what does that kind of look like, if you could speak to it?
Yeah, we have a pretty open kind of policy on the way that our fee structure is. It's on our website and doesn't change for any company. Essentially, for every company that raises on Republic, we take 6% of the capital that is raised and 2% of the securities that are raised. So let's talk about standard startups. It'll be 6% of the cash raised and 2% of the equity or stocks that they're selling. And for crypto projects, it's 6% of cash raised and then 2% of the tokens or security tokens that they are selling on our platform. And keep in mind that the maximum amount of money that you can raise on Republic is $1.07 million. So we're not taking 6% of a $10 million raise. We're taking 6% of a potentially $1 million raise. So from that, that's kind of like our cash success commission because we have a funding portal license, allows us to do that compliantly. And then the 2% gives us kind of aligned interest with the company so that whenever that company is successful, we have an equity interest in that company, and we become successful when that company is also successful.
Yeah, I think that's terrific. Well, I want to be conscious of time. I know that we're here at 12:30 now, so thank you everyone so much for being a part of the webinar today. And please, for everyone who's listening, feel free to send us questions if you have any follow-up, and I'd be happy to get those questions over to you guys to answer. But yeah, really excited about what you're building. I think the Node is a terrific way to engage the investor community and only hopefully continue to grow the success of the market. So thank you guys very, very much for what you're doing.
Thanks,
Thank you
Chris.
so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a wonderful day, guys. Take care now.
All right. Bye.